This supposed to be easy? Maybe your workflow just costs you 5 times what you expected. Or maybe that simple tool you choose physically cannot do what you need it to do. This is the hidden trap of choosing between N8N and Make.com. On the surface, they look the same, but underneath, they're fundamentally different. And picking the wrong one will cost you hours of frustration and potentially hundreds of dollars. Hi everyone, Martin here, and today we're going to make sure this doesn't happen to you. Cool, let's jump in and see how they stack up. First thing first, we start with Make.com. A lot of people can find this one really easy to start with. Nice interface, looks a little bit like Smarties. You got these scenarios and you're connecting different dots. Everything looks nice and smooth and easy to work with. It feels straightforward, and that's a really big plus for simplicity. They have massive number of pre-built connections. You can basically find them in templates. Whether you work with a Google Sheets, Slack, MailChimp, Airtable, you name it, you got it in here. For basic tasks, when you get a new email, trying to add a new row in a spreadsheet, you can get that working fast and easy. Keep in mind, because Make.com is so guided, sometimes you need to do something slightly different just to make things work. For complicated stuff, it is not exactly perfect. And of course, that pricing model of the Make.com is a little different. Let's talk about that later. Check that other power toolkit, N8N. It looks a little different, right? It might feel a little less polished. You don't have your nice Smarties looking thing. It's a bit more technical. Think of it less like a finished appliance and more like a very well stocked workshop. A really big deal with N8N is flexibility it gives you and overall control. Couple of huge things. And first one, it is open source. That means you can see how it works. It has strong community that builds a lot of different automation templates for you, and you can ask people. They got some advices for N8N. Second big thing is self-hosting. You can download your N8N. You can run it on a cheap server anywhere. Why would you even bother with that? Main thing is cost of your runs. If you run lots of automations, self-hosting can make N8N practically free to run. Setting up your self-hosting takes a time. They also have regular cloud versions. You just pay like a Make.com, so you get a choice. That is really important. You can pick whatever fits you better. N8N also just lets you get deeper into the woods with logic. If you need to tweak data, you can write a JavaScript code inside of your nodes. Also, if you need a loop that handles error, you can add it into your nodes. So if you have some result, it doesn't fit required data, you can run it through something else. Basic differences between Make.com and N8N. Beyond the look and feel, what actually makes difference when you're building? First thing is how they charge you, and pay attention in here. Make uses operations every time that does something. That's one operation. It's 50 items in a list. That's 50 operations just for that one step. It adds up incredibly fast if you handle a list or have a busy workflow. Costs can jump unexpectedly. It's something you have to watch constantly. On the other hand, N8N uses executions. Generally, one whole run throughout your workflow is one execution, even if it processes 50 times inside. It's much more predictable billing. Usually works out way cheaper if you're doing anything moderately complex or high volume. N8N self-hosting. You pay for your server $5-10 or something like that, and you can run as many executions as your server can handle. Cost per execution is tiny. For heavy use, it is completely unbeatable. Make can be cheap if your flows are super simple, tiny, and you run them rarely. Otherwise, N8N pricing structure, especially when it's self-hosted, saves you serious money on a scale. Let's talk about flexibility. Make is great if the module does exactly what you want it to do. You got your sync Facebook lead ads and it's going to your Google Sheets, or you got something else you want to work on. If you want it to do something there's no module for, it might be way overcomplicated, maybe even impossible, or just cost you too many operations to run it. N8N, on the other hand, got fewer super polished modules. There's quite a bit, but not as many as there it is in a Make. But there is HTTP request node. It lets you connect literally any online service with an API. Being able to just write code in a JavaScript inside of your node, you're less likely to hit a complete dead end. Make is convenient within its own box, and N8N gives you the tools to work outside the box when it's needed. Let's talk about hosting control. Make is fairly simple in this. You just run it on their own servers online, pay a subscription. That's about it. There's no other option. On the other hand, N8N, as we mentioned earlier, you can either use their server, pay some subscription, or you can self-host it. That gives you total control over your data, where it is stored, where it lives, security. We are using a Hetzner cloud provider, best bang for a buck for us. If keeping data in the house or having that extra level of control matters for compliance, privacy purposes, etc., N8N is the clear option in here. Complexity of handling loops and errors. Make tries to make loops easy by just repeating a single steps. It works for basic stuff. If you need to check each item in a loop for errors or do something a little different based on results during that loop, it gets complicated to build it reliably. N8N gives you specific tool for loops, loop over items, and if conditions, error handling. You got your workflow, and if it's true, it goes this way. If it's false, goes this way, and then repeat itself. It takes more thought, but you end up with workflow that can actually handle the real world complexity and failures much better. Which one should you use? Forget the beginning pro labels and just focus on what you need to do, what is important, and your desired result. You can go with the Make if you just want the absolute quickest, easiest way to connect common apps for a simple task. You dislike any kind of technical setup or fiddling around. Your automation will likely stay simple, will not run thousands of times a day, so the cost can stay low, and you're running it all online and it's perfectly fine for you. Go with N8N if you want to save some money when things get really busy and complex. It is important to think in self-hosting. You know, you need to connect things that might not have a perfect pre-built module or need a custom data handling, or you need to build complex logic around with loops and reliable error checks. You want to self-host it for data and control privacy, and you're interested in building more advanced AI agent. All right, so that's the rundown. Make.com is super easy. Start for simple things. It looks nice, but watch the scaling cost and flexibility limits. N8N, more of a power tool, really flexible, way cheaper if you run a lot of operations, especially self-hosted. It's got a little steeper learning curve. Hope this walkthrough helped to clear things a little up. If it did, hit the like button and help others to find this. Thanks for hanging out, and catch you later, guys.